A midsummer ring of fire pattern will bring a major heat wave and significant severe thunderstorms to the United States over the next 1 to 2 weeks, and I am here to tell you the forecast for that as we move forward through late July and early August. We're going to also talk about the tropical weather update at the end of this video, so make sure if you aren't here, we do straightforward, accurate, reliable weather information here on my channel. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, turn on all post notifications so you're notified for future videos and live streams. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, and share it with a friend, family member, and on social media. I definitely appreciate that. Let's look at the temperatures that we saw here on this Saturday afternoon. Again, nothing short of outstanding here once again. Into the upper Midwest with some rain cooled air, keeping our temperatures into the 70s this afternoon. A little bit warmer in the Northeast versus yesterday, but hey, we'll take the low 80s versus the upper 80s. That is for sure. The heat, though, this afternoon was cranking down across Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and along the Gulf Coast, and then into the desert Southwest at Phoenix, 106 this afternoon. Much of the same is expected as we go into the latter half of the weekend. So Sunday afternoon on July 20th, our high temperatures will be very familiar here again in the upper Midwest, central Great Lakes into the upper 70s, maybe a touch warmer in some spots, and then a little bit cooler in the Northeast at times. Into Maine especially could be into the upper 60s, and then there you have it, more 90s and triple digits from the plains into the Gulf Coast states and back into the desert Southwest. That heat, my friends, is feeling the threat for severe weather, so I'm here to talk about that. In the yellow, we have scattered severe thunderstorms possible from the high plains into parts of the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and stretching over here to the Mid-Atlantic. In the dark green, that's where isolated strong to severe thunderstorms will be possible as well, keeping a close eye on that. The hazards the storms could bring this evening could still be damaging hail across the northern Rockies up here in eastern Montana, but the high plains stretching down into the western Dakotas and into western Nebraska, including the Nebraska Panhandle. That could be hailstones up to tennis ball, even baseball size, heading in through the evening here and into the overnight. And in addition to that, we do have a formidable tornado chance, an upgraded 5% chance of tornadoes in brown, including western portions of Nebraska. In green, that is a 2% chance of tornadoes within a 25-mile radius of any given point in or around this area, including parts of the northern Rockies, into the plains, into the Midwest, Great Lakes, and parts of the western Ohio Valley. Going into your Sunday, we're keeping tabs on a couple of areas. First area up here in the Dakotas with scattered severe thunderstorms possible in the yellow, and over here in the yellow from Boston down toward Hartford and New York City in the I-95 corridor. Keeping an eye on that threat for scattered severe thunderstorms over there. Otherwise, if you're in dark green, stretching from the central plains, the lower Ohio River Valley into the Mid-Atlantic, that's where isolated strong to severe thunderstorms will be possible on your Sunday, primarily during the afternoon and the evening. And again, there is a tornado chance, but it is less than 2%, so it's very low here. As we go through Sunday, it's mainly going to be some strong gusty winds and some large hail with those storms. Let's start in the eastern U.S. We'll go to the central U.S., as you know, and then we'll go into the western U.S. after that. Here in the east, this evening, we're watching a few pop-up showers and thunderstorms from Michigan down into Indiana and Ohio. A few of these could be strong with some strong wind gusts, hail, and an isolated tornado threat. And then as we lose the daytime heating, I think we lose a lot of the coverage and intensity of those storms overnight across the eastern U.S. as a whole, but some locally heavy rainfall will be possible up there in southern Ontario, Canada, and up toward Montreal, keeping a very close eye on that. Sunday morning, we wake up pretty quiet across the eastern U.S. all told, but there could be a couple showers and rumbles of thunder there in New York State into northern Vermont and New Hampshire. Couple storms offshore Cape Cod as well. Otherwise, we turn our attention back to a cluster of storms we'll talk about in the central U.S. view. That's coming into view across Illinois as we go through Sunday. That will be the focal point for more storms through Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, and West Virginia Sunday afternoon. Again, these are a couple clusters of storms that could produce some hail, some winds, and an isolated tornado, but some torrential downpours as all that humidity is going to lead to some very heavy rainfall with these storms. Central United States, we're watching supercells developing out here across the high plains, including parts of the western Dakotas, eastern Montana, and western Nebraska, including parts of the Nebraska Panhandle. Could be seeing damaging hail up to tennis ball, if not baseball size, with some of the strongest storm cells out here, in addition to that tornado risk over the next few hours. And as we go through the late night hours, it's going to turn from a severe weather threat to more of a flash flooding threat as these storms train over the same areas over and over again. from eastern Nebraska, but especially into the Hawkeye State of Iowa. Des Moines, Ames, over here towards Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, right along that I-80 corridor in Iowa, and then stretching eastward from there into northern Illinois, including the Rockford area, Davenport, getting into Princeton and western suburbs of Chicago. Now we're talking Aurora, Naperville, and Joliet, Kankakee, those areas into Sunday morning. And then we have additional storms that could form into the afternoon, again, supercellular in nature across the northern plains. Like we mentioned, flash flooding could be in play from Iowa, central Iowa, into eastern Iowa and north central Illinois, extending into northwestern Indiana, where we could be seeing a pocket, a narrow swath here at least, of up to 5 inches worth of rain with these storms between now and Sunday evening. So be watching out for that. If a flash flood warning is issued for your location, make sure you seek higher ground and get away from those floodwaters until they recede. And looking at the western U.S. here this evening, again, as you see across portions of the Rockies, monsoonal flow is going strong this afternoon. That continues through the evening until the sun sets, and then we see a lot of that dwindling away. We'll see that again tomorrow, peak daytime heating in the afternoon, although on more of an isolated or widely scattered coverage as we go through your Sunday evening. Stronger storms, though, are favored again up there in eastern Montana. Now let's look at Monday, July 21st, starting the new work week. Another threat for severe weather in dark green up here, including Montana, the Dakotas, western Minnesota, parts of northwestern Iowa, getting into Nebraska, and then down here into the Tennessee Valley, including southern Kentucky, middle and eastern Tennessee, down into parts of Georgia and the Carolinas, including the low country of South Carolina. Isolated strong to severe storms will be possible there in the dark green, primarily looking at a wind and hail threat, but a few isolated tornadoes cannot be ruled out, especially up here into the northern plains, where we actually do have a lot of instability available for those storms Monday afternoon and Monday evening. You can see the grays and the blacks, almost like the charcoal color up here. That's 6,000 plus joules per kilogram of storm energy. That is as high as it gets, folks. So as we go through Monday morning, could be seeing an ongoing cluster of storms somewhere in the upper Midwest. Whether or not that's in central Minnesota or northern Wisconsin or in the Dakotas remains to be seen. But we're going to continue to see those clusters of showers and storms developing here really throughout the day on Monday into Monday night, and they could pose a risk for some dangerous storms across the northern plains and upper Midwest, and then down here again, mainly during the day though, across the southeast and into the Tennessee Valley, with again mainly a wind and hail threat, but a few isolated tornadoes will be possible in this type of pattern. Our temperature trends are going to be needed to be watched as we go through this week. Between Monday, July 21st and Friday, July 25th, we're going to be about 15-20 degrees above normal with our temperatures across the Mississippi Valley there. And this is a pretty big heat wave. We got a big ridge of high pressure here just off the Gulf Coast, and it's going to be moving and anchoring itself into the eastern U.S. By Wednesday afternoon. It's at its peak intensity, and that's where we're going to see some really high heat actually making its way northward into the Midwest, southern Great Lakes, and the Ohio Valley. So here's Monday. A lot of the same areas seeing the 90s and the triple digits. As we go into Tuesday, that shifts a little bit further north and east. So now we're talking Des Moines, Kansas City, and St. Louis, and then getting into the Chicagoland area. And then by Wednesday, peak of the heat up there in northern Illinois, southern Michigan, into southern Wisconsin and Iowa, into the mid-90s. You factor in the heat index, it's going to be a lot higher than that, and that will continue off and on throughout the week. Like we mentioned, we have a lot of moisture in the environment. We have a mature corn crop out there, and those corn crops, when they're mature, they're transpirating a lot of that moisture back into the atmosphere. It's evapotranspiration, and that is going to be at its peak, especially by the middle of this week on Wednesday, with dew points not only well into the 70s, but into the low 80s, which is air you can wear. The second you walk outside, you start to sweat, and that is why we're going to be seeing some excessively high heat index values going throughout the week. If you're on the cool side of the boundary, well, it's going to be muggy, but not as bad. If you're on the warm side, well, forget about it. It's going to be 105 to 115 with the heat indexes on a daily basis, and it looks like, again, Wednesday is going to be the strongest day of heat across the Midwest. We could be up to 105 in the Des Moines area, into portions of Green Bay approaching 100, 110 into the Illinois Valley with our heat indexes on Wednesday, and that continues as we go into Thursday, Friday at times as well. So looking at the northern side of this ridge of high pressure, that's where you turn your attention to the potential for thunderstorm clusters that begin to evolve in the Dakotas and the northern plains and drop southeast. It's what you call the northwest flow, and that could provide the threat for a couple of thunderstorm complexes that bring some strong gusty winds, hail, embedded tornadoes, and very heavy torrential rains that could cause some flash flooding. But one or two of these could have enough storm energy with them, especially by the middle of the week, around that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday timeframe, to become characterized as a derecho. And a derecho, if you don't know, is a fast-moving thunderstorm complex typically associated with very high winds, typically hurricane force, 75 miles an hour or greater. In most extreme instances, derechos can produce winds over 100 miles per hour. And we also see hail, embedded tornadoes, and very heavy rainfall associated with them as well. So that main corridor we're watching for that threat would be the eastern Dakotas, Minnesota, northern Iowa, Wisconsin, northern Illinois, and then over here into Michigan, and then eventually into southern Ontario, Canada. So we'll be keeping an eye on that through the work week. Now that ridge that's over the southeast and lower Mississippi Valley this week is going to be shifting a little bit in position as we go into the latter half of the month here and actually into the first week of August. It's going to become a little bit more expansive too as it's retrograding from east to west across the desert southwest and the southern plains. And that promises, again, very hot and steamy conditions across the central southern plains as we go into the early part of August with that northwest flow, again, favoring the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes into the northeast. And you can see that northwest flow will evolve and kind of promote more thunderstorm complexes into the Dakotas, Minnesota, Iowa, eastern portions of Iowa, especially into Wisconsin, northern Illinois, and then back there into Indiana and Michigan. And then it's going to be drier underneath of that ridge of high pressure because sinking air promotes clearer skies, and you don't see any precipitation from clear skies. Now let's look here at the tropical weather update that the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida keeps updating this, and it's at 20% right now in the main development region of a system developing. Now, look at this. This is way out there in the ocean. This is not even close to affecting anybody, so no need to panic at all, but it is something we're keeping an eye on. And something else that's kind of throwing a wrench in the forecast is still the Saharan dust, and the Saharan dust is dry air that's being thrown over the main development region of the Atlantic Ocean, and this could actually prevent any system from forming really in the short term, but we'll keep an eye on the trends as we go through the latter half here of the month of July, especially even as we go into early August, to see if something develops across the main development region, the Eastern Caribbean, what have you. So we'll keep an eye on that. And over here in the East Pacific, still a 30% chance of development of a new tropical system, whether that's a tropical depression, tropical storm, or hurricane. Keeping an eye on it right now. Again, this is over the open water of the Pacific, and it's not even close to Hawaii or any sort of land right now. So we have plenty of time to watch it. No need to panic whatsoever. We are going to be looking at the probabilities here in the Atlantic again, going through the latter half of the month. And right now, the probabilities are slim to none, but we'll keep you updated. Over here in the East Pacific, though, it has a little bit more legs with it. So again, we're going to keep you updated. Again, no need to panic, but something to keep an eye on if you have interest in Hawaii for a vacation or something like that, or near Mexico. We'll keep an eye on it as we go through the long range. Thank you all for watching. We do straightforward, accurate, reliable weather information daily on my channel. So make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on post notification bell so you're notified for future videos, live streams we do on the channel. We're going to have another video forecast out for you tomorrow on Sunday. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, family member, and on social media. Also, if you have any comments, questions, and concerns, we are here 24/7, all day, all night to answer any and all comments, questions, concerns that you may have. Thank you all for your support, and I'll see you all in the next video.